Yom Kippur is a day of forgiveness. Chuva, Chazal teaches, was created before the world. And chuva is available to every person, that no matter what happened to him in life, no matter what he's been through, no matter what he's seen, experienced or done, there's a place inside of him that remains clean. That place is called chuva. And that place cannot be contaminated, because that place is an understanding of life that is true, and the truth cannot be contaminated. And that's why tshuva relates to the level of bina, the level of understanding. Understanding simply means knowing the truth, knowing reality. Everything that we did that offended our nature, or that offended our Creator, was done based on emotions that were out of sync with understanding, with proper understanding of the truth. And because the emotions were misunderstood, we acted in a way that resulted in damage, some form of damage, that caused us to be distant from the Creator, because through our misunderstood emotion, we removed ourselves from reality. And when that happens, there is nobody to take care of reality for us. Reality is left all alone, and when reality is left alone, then bad things can happen. Because the intelligence that's supposed to be protecting reality is not living in reality. He's busy, he's on a tangent, he's somewhere else. So tshuva doesn't mean that you're going to find something new, that you're going to create a new reality, a change. Tshuva means that you're going to come back to what already was, but you haven't noticed. You're behaving in a way as if something that's not real is real. And when you realize that it's not real, that's called tshuva. And that's why tshuva is created before the world, because tshuva is the place you go back to after you've messed up your world. After you've realized that your world makes no sense. So you come back to the place that was before you created your world. The place where you resided while you were in your mother's womb. In that place, you never worried about what you did wrong, or what you might have done, or who you really are, or what it really means, because you were perfectly safe. You had nothing driving those questions. Those questions are driven by a person not finding peace. And so when we don't find peace, we start asking all kinds of questions. But when we are safe, when we feel like I'm good with my spirit, I'm good with my soul, as if she's my mother, as if I'm still in my mother's womb, that I could have done no wrong, because I always meant to do what's right. And even when I forgot that I was trying to do what's right, I was still only trying to do what's right. And I never received the proper instructions to know how my nature really works. How can I make sure that I get to a place where there's peace? Where I can live, where I can be what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to be, what the Creator designed me to be. So coming back to that reality, realizing where you're really coming from, realizing that your intentions are pure, reminding yourself, that's tshuva. And when a person does that properly, it cleans out all his vessels, meaning all his emotions that have gone wrong. His emotions are the tzenoides through which he receives spiritual shefa, through which he receives life, understanding, experience. So those emotions can go back and heal so that he can experience life in the appropriate mode, so that he can be the way that he was meant to be. Because as long as we're entangled in our world that we created in our minds, then our emotions cannot heal. And that puts tremendous stress on our nervous system. Our nervous system was not designed to handle fake realities. It was only designed to handle the real one, and the real one was designed so that it doesn't stress it, so that it doesn't hurt it. So as soon as we move away from nature, our nervous system is being beaten down. And this is essentially the message of the TESHUVA. When the TESHUVA speaks about punishment, it's really saying, if you're going to mistreat the being that you are, then it's going to result in pain. And you are a specific type of being. You have specific needs, not only physical needs. Needs that are difficult to understand, they're very subtle, but they're extremely real. And the pain that results when we neglect those needs is extremely real. Just because we don't understand them doesn't make them any less real. And therefore, it's our job to develop the sensitivities to be able to understand ourselves and understand our needs. Because we are first and foremost spiritual beings. We reside in bodies. We know what our body needs. But who we really are and what we really need, we're not so clear on. And this results in tremendous suffering. And so, when we talk about TESHUVA, we're talking about waking up to reality, to the truth that's beyond all the stories that you've told yourself your entire life. Because if you go back to that place, your intelligence is going to become divine. You're going to be what nature designed you to be. Your tzenoides are actually going to function the way that they're supposed to, where you're going to respond to situations in the appropriate manner. You're going to know from within what needs to be done. Because your thinking is going to be aligned with your nature. You're going to be the real you. Until that happens, you're not the real you. You're a you that's a combination of your nature plus what many people told you. And some of them conflicting instructions. And all of them not working perfectly with your nature. Because your nature is extremely subtle. Only a Navi could really speak to a human being and do him no harm. Anybody else doesn't really know how to avoid all the different forms of harm that can happen just when you utter a sentence to another human being. Real harm that will cause real pain, that will have eternal consequences. And this is why many people, as soon as they gained a certain sensitivity spiritually, they would stop talking. They almost wouldn't talk. Because they would understand the responsibility of what it means to create realities within people's minds. It has a tremendous effect on our entire life, on our entire behavior, on how we see life and how we experience life. And that's ultimately who we are. That's as close to ourselves as we can get. Much closer than our bodies. Our bodies are just a small part of our experience. Our experience is much deeper than our bodies. Our experience includes all the different factors of our social life, of our financial situation, of our relatives, of our friends. All of that affect how we experience. All these are ingredients to our experience. And when those are not healthy, for whatever reason, then it influences how we're going to experience life. And how we experience life influences how we think, and how we speak, and how we feel. All the way to physical diseases. Sometimes we can see on chronic stress, people are chronically stressed out, that they get sick very often. It's easy to observe. But even people who don't get sick, their performance is sluggish. They're not really themselves. Because they could have had more juice. They could have been more there. They could have been more themselves. Because the intelligence that's within the human being is infinite. And according to how we provide for it, it will develop. And it will become something that our imagination cannot foretell. Only because we have people who have experienced these different levels of being, we know that they exist. But our imagination is not developed enough to even give us a taste of what that really means to understand life, to gain access to life, to really be here, and not to be in our imagined reality, to really experience what's actually happening to us while it's happening. If somebody can gain access to that experience, he would be a real Baal Tshuva. That means somebody who actually came back from the abyss, from a place that doesn't exist, where most people waste their whole entire life. And so when somebody can actually see life for what it is, recognize the truth that's playing out in front of him, to realize the power that he has by interacting with people and interacting with himself to affect the future, to cause reality to happen. When somebody can wake up to that responsibility, that's called TESHUVA. And Chazal teach us that it requires just one person. If one person could remember what it means to be us, then all of us will be freed. Because he can just tell us. And that's why it says, Yochid Sheshav, Moichlin loy lechol olam kiloi, that if one person returns, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be moichel all the avonos of Klal Yisrael. Why? Because in that place there are no avonos. In that place there is understanding. When there's understanding, then the avonos take on a different face. They mean something else. Ad kedei kach that when somebody does chuva me'ahava, his understanding goes so deep that zdoinus nasa lo kezochios, that he realizes that the fact that he had to go through that pain, that he had to go through that suffering, that he had to go through feeling distant, for that alone he deserves to get credit. For that alone he deserves to get reward. Because if he did that for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it means that he was suffering in order to fix the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. When a person goes into suffering, when a person goes into feeling distant from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's descending into the world of the Klippos. Why is he descending into the world of the Klippos? To save something, to make the world better. He's taking one for the team. He's doing something for the klal. When a person gets to the proper level of understanding, then Zdoin is Nasele Kezochies. He realizes what it really means to be close and what it really means to be distant. And he recognizes that being distant means being distant from life, being distant from himself, not having access to what's real. What's real is beyond what we can imagine. So as long as we're imagining life, as long as we think we understand life, we definitely cannot have access to what's real. What's real can only be lived in the moment, and life tells us what's real. We don't tell life what should be, life tells us what is. And that's the only place we can really make any progress, is when we face what is and we work with it. And we learn to love it. We learn to love humanity. Humanity is a beautiful species. They deserve to be loved. And because we struggle on all our daily details, we forget that sometimes. We don't give them the love they deserve. I don't know if there's any animal that struggles as much as the human being. It's Tzar B'alei Chaim. Forget about the fact that they're Echelek Elekam Emal. Forget about the fact that they deserve to be kings. Forget about the fact that the whole universe, the whole cosmos is singing just so that they can have their experience. Just look at them as simple animals. Even animals don't deserve to suffer like this. So we're doing something wrong. And what we're doing wrong is that we've forgotten what forgiveness means. We've forgotten what's the ultimate goal. The rules are here to help us, to build us, to create better versions of us. They're not here to kill us. They're not here to hurt us. And so tshuva means that you come back to understanding of what's really happening in this world, what's really taking place. What's the truth behind your existence? Your mind's not big enough to understand it. You're not capable to fully contemplate what's going on, but understand that it's magnificent. Understand that it must be extremely meaningful and extremely important. Because see what was created in order to put this in place. See what you're dealing with. And so we can't be busy with our world, the way that we interpret it, the way that we think about it. Because then the emotions get involved. Once the emotions get involved, we forget our understanding. We lose our understanding. We lose our place. The emotions are here to be used by us in order to enhance life. They're not meant as a transactional mode of who's going to win against who. That's not what emotions are here for. Emotions are here to enrich our life, like the rainbow. The colors of the rainbow actually represent the human emotions. The midos. The midos. These are the colors of how a human heart can be enhanced. And when we can use our midos in that format, when the midos serve the bina, when they serve the understanding, when they serve reality, then they're the most beautiful thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created in all of the creation. But when they're used wrong, then they become man's biggest enemy. All wars are created by emotions. Our emotions become ways of misinterpreting life. They turn against us. And that's when the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Keviyuchel are turned against humanity. Because everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is midah keneged midah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't move. We're moving. If we interpret life in a certain way, if we use certain midas, then those are the midas that are going to judge us. Those are the realities that are going to follow us. Chazal teach us, they asked 4 different sources about the din of a choite, what to do with a person who sins. So I think the first one goes, Sha'alu la chochma, choite, ma yehei eleu. Somebody who does a sin, he does something wrong, what should happen? So the chochma said, Chatoim tirdo ifro. If somebody does something bad, he ruins HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creation, he ruins reality for himself and others, so that evil that he did should chase him. Sha'alu la nevuah, choite. What do you do with a choite? So the nevuah says, "Hanefesh achoitas hi tomus." The soul who sins needs to die. Why? Why is it offending this beautiful creation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created? Why is it causing evil in such a beautiful place? Sha'alu la Torah, choite. What should we do with him? So the Torah says, Yovi Oshem v'yiskaper. Bring a korban and you'll have a kapara. Because the Torah was created to be Mekarev Klal Yisrael Ta'aviyam Shebashamayim, to bring people back to reality. After the Lichas Rishonos, where Klal Yisrael showed that they're not ready to handle reality, they were given a ladder to climb up to reality. And the Torah is meant to be used as a ladder to climb back to reality so that we can finally, our minds can be big enough and our hearts soft enough to handle reality. And so this is the development that the Torah is trying to create within man. And therefore when they ask the Torah, Choite, what are we going to do with him? The Choite says, let's find a way to be mispayas. Let him bring a carbon, and then he can come back. Sha'alu l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Choite, mayu anshoy? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yasa chuva v'yiskaper. I don't need him to bring a carbon. All I need from him is to straighten out his heart. Ilavova yovin v'shav. Let him understand his heart, and then I will instantly forgive him. I don't care what he did. Now why do we get different answers from different sources? All these sources are true. The Chochmah is true, the Nevuah is true, the Torah is true, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is true. So why are they giving us different answers in such an important question? This is not a small question. This is the ultimate question on every human being's mind. What's going to happen to me? Where am I headed? And the answer is that everybody has to speak in order to do the best good that they can. Not everybody can say what somebody else can say. Not everything that can be written can be said in private. Not everything that can be thought can be said. And so the Chochmah has a job. The Chochmah doesn't have feelings. The Chochmah is rules. The Chochmah sees the Choite, he says, I'll tell you the rule of nature, I'll tell you how nature works. If you do evil, you have evil inside of you now. That part of you is going to bother you. That's the nature of reality. That's what Chochmah knows. That's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created life. You ask the Navi. The Navi's job was to make people realize the seriousness of what's happening. The Navi's job was to wake people up to the fact that they're wasting their time, they're wasting their life. Something is really taking place, and we're missing it. We're just letting life pass us by, we're missing it. We're missing our life, it's a big deal. The Navi's job was to wake people up, so he didn't mince any words. He says, "Anefesh achita asi tamis." Let people get scared, this is important. We ask the Torah is here to be mekar of people. The Torah is here to make people realize that there's a path. And therefore it says, Yovi Oshem v'yiskape, let him bring a carbon, let him show a token that he's serious, that he's sincere. But when we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make it as easy as possible for us to return. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one you ask in your heart. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that has your best interest at heart. And so when you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't give me anything. The fact that you want, that's all I'm asking from you. Do you really want? Then we're good. Then I don't care what you did. Do you really want to start over? Do you really want to be real? Do you really want to stop creating bad things in this world? In the world that I created? In the world that I invested so much in? In the people that I care about? You have the power. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the power to create within His world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the framework. He created the koiches. He created the heavens. He created the stars and the planets, and all these koiches together make it possible for this world to be the way that it is, for us to be the way that we are. All of them are invested so that we can have our ability to be. But within that framework, we create the meaning, we create what plays out, we create the story that actually takes place in the day-to-day life. We're the players within this grand scheme that He created. And we have to take this seriously. We have to realize our role. It's a big deal. It's not only a big deal for us because it's all we are, it's a big deal for the people that we're affecting. It's a big deal for our children, it's a big deal for our spouses, it's a big deal for our friends. Because the things that come out of our mouth affect them in a deep way, more than we can imagine. Our brain is not big enough to understand. And so we need to sharpen our brains, we need to develop our thinking capacity. The brain is not big enough to we need to start understanding what we're really dealing with. We also need to start opening our hearts to what's really taking place, to how real this is, to how real we are. We represent God in this world. What we do affects how people see the Creator. Everything we do and everything we say affects Kaviyachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. And this name is ultimately why we're here. We're here to raise His name, so that everybody that comes into this planet knows who created it and knows that this is a safe place to be, that they will not be offended on any level, physically or spiritually, when they come to this place, to this planet. Because this planet is a sacred planet. This planet is the most important planet in the universe. It has us on it. The jewel, the human brain, the one that's experiencing the whole thing. And the human heart has all the instructions necessary to live this life, to find your way, to come back to your heart. And that's why every time the Torah speaks about TESHUVA, it speaks about your heart. V'yadata hayoim v'shevoisa levovecho. Ki Hashem hu Elokim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one you're serving, the one you're worshipping, He is the nature that created everything that is, and He lives inside of everything. Ki Hashem hu Elokim b'shamayim mimal, in all the heavens, in all the celestial bodies, in all the planets and the stars, v'aloretz mitochas, everything that's happening in this world, ein oid, there's nothing else. If you can treat the world with that kind of respect, the world will treat you back with that kind of respect. And you can't currently imagine what that really means, how that feels. Because unfortunately, nobody in the last 2,000 years has had even a taste of what that means. Because we're in such a hostile territory. Spiritually, we're hostile to each other. We've forgotten how to love. We've forgotten our basic nature. Our basic nature is to love and to forgive. That's the truth, that's the reality. That's the place that we're going to do tshuva to. If that wasn't our basic nature, then we wouldn't be able to do tshuva. But before we started fighting with reality, before we started suffering, before we started putting up all our defenses, there was a place in us that was pure, that was clean. And only later, because of all the different misunderstandings, did it get entangled, did the emotions get stirred and damaged and turned anti-humanity. And this is what it requires from us, to do tshuva, to wake up to what's real, to come back to a place where we forgive everything that happened to us because we understand that we didn't fully appreciate the magnificence of what's taking place. And when we are forgiving, when we are in that mode, then our nefesh will automatically understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives us too. Because when we understand from that place, when we understand from a deep feeling, from a deep realization that really there should be forgiveness, the truth is that people don't mean to harm each other, people don't want to hurt each other, people don't want to hurt themselves. It's a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of understanding that is causing all this damage. So then we also expect HaKadosh Baruch Hu to see us in that same light. And we have the right to. Because that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu leads his world, midah keneged midah. Kalaima HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatran hu, yivatri me'oi, says Chazal. If you think he's mevater, he's not mevater. But everything happens midah keneged midah. When a person is in that nature that he's forgiving, then bevada HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives him. Because that's the nature of life. Life reacts to you kamayim alponim ken lev odam al odam. Nature reacts to you in the nature that you react with it. It's a mirror. And it's not just psychologically so, it's actually so. The nature of how it works is actually so, meaning that it actually affects how you feel in your body. It actually affects how your food's going to taste. It affects how you see life. It affects how you think. Because life reacts to you constantly. Your entire expression of how you are is a reaction to life. It's not you, it's not an action, it's a reaction. This is your reaction to what's taking place. And life is built midah keneged midah. Everything works midah keneged midah. And therefore, being forgiving, being kind, means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will interact with you in that way. And that is the only path to finding HaKadosh Baruch Hu in these generations. There's no other way. There's no other path. Tzaddikim have tried. Early on, tzaddikim were able to do it. Some of them were able to be so stringent with themselves that they actually found a way. But the Baal Shem Tov already confirmed to us that the only way a person is going to find closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu now is through love. It's through understanding. It's through recognizing what's really happening. Following the rules more and more stringently is not going to get a person there, because he's constantly going to be stuck in his mind fighting with himself. We don't have the environment where a person can have enough energy, where a person can have enough wisdom to fuel such a lifestyle, so that he has the proper energy to do it in a positive manner, that he wants to do it, that he enjoys doing it. And therefore, the concept of tshuva is a softening of the heart, is a recognition of who we really are and at what level we really are, and where we should really be focusing our attention, our spiritual energy. And so that's the concept that Yom Kippur is about. It's a return. We're going to spend the full day just spending time with the Nefesh HaMedaberes. We're not going to be distracted by anything else. All the other choshim are not going to be as involved in our experience as the koyach hadibur. And this is because it's with this koyach that we create spiritually. It's with this koyach that we create our experience, that we interpret our experience, that we design our lives. And so, it's a time where a person should recognize who he really is deep inside. What does life really mean to him? What is really important to him? What does he really know? And return to a place that's more real, to see the people around him, to see the actual events, the actual experiences, the actual emotions that are taking place inside of him, and not be distracted by what's happening outside of him. And when a person gains access to that truth, then he can start contributing to life in a different way. Then he interacts with life as a friend, as someone who wants to help, as someone who wants to make life better. And this better is unlimited. What we can do, what we can experience, if we tune in to the right reality, to the reality that HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed, is bli gvul. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the koyach, He should give us the insight, He should give us the milas halev, He should open up our hearts so that we can actually experience this truth, so we can all do tshuva. ושבזויכת ודגול השלם ובמהרה בימינו.